Hello, Revere, and welcome to another Revere Morris show. We have a special guest today. She's a former teacher at the Revere High School. She's been she taught arts and photography for 32 years at Revere High. Her name is Joanne McKenna. She's been a counselor at Ward 1 for almost 3 years.
Yes.
Joanne, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Morris.
Right. Now, before we start, I always like to see what their education of the people was and what it was like teaching in high school, so please take it.
So this is my third year being retired. I was in the Revere High School for 32 years. Well, I've been in the Revere public school systems for 32 years. Taught at Revere High School from 90 to 2015, art and photography. And I have a couple of degrees with that. I have a master's in psychology, a master's in technology, and a master's in administration.
Right, before we start, I don't know, you went on a trip, but have you ever been to London to see the Big Ben? You know, the Big Ben on the wall?
No,
never?
No, but I was at Nashville a week ago with 10 of my friends that I grew up with since we were 5 years old. And we were there for 5 days. It was a lot of fun.
I understand that you were one of the best guitarists in the country there, standing on the stage and...
Yes, I was. You just saw that picture, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Right.
Yes, yes. No, I do play guitar, actually. Yep. So, yeah, it was very appropriate for me to be on stage in Nashville pretending that I was playing the guitar, so.
Oh, that means you like country music?
A little bit, yeah.
Like Chinese and Japanese
and
all the other countries?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay. I knew that. Before we continue, your education, I know you say 3 years not being a teacher. Exactly what do you mean by that?
Well, I retired 3 years ago, and
I see.
The opportunity for me to run for council was available because of Richard Pentis passing. So I started before I was a counselor, I started the Beachmont Improvement Committee and the Revere Beautification Committee and did a lot of work in Beachmont developing parks. And so a lot of people pushed me to run for politics. And I ran for politics. They had a special election and I won, you know. Of course I won. I didn't have anybody running against me. So, and then I had to run again in November and I didn't have an opponent. This time around, I do have an opponent, so.
A nice little young lady.
Yes, Cheryl Woodridge.
Yes.
Yes.
She's a Revere resident too, I
yes,
think.
Actually, she lives right down the street from me.
Oh, that's pretty good. Before we continue, if I could, on a sad note, I think I'd like to express my condolences to the people of Texas and Louisiana for the hurricane that they had, because from what I understand, 30 or more have already been killed. So, to all the people out there, we, the City of Revere, RevereTV, we send our condolences to you, and thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And by the way, I think they're also collecting, if my memory serves me correct, a food bank over at the... Yes,
American Legion building. Mark Silvestri's, I think, taking the reins on that, and I did yesterday, brought in some stuff, diapers and toiletries and socks and clothes, and he had a pile of stuff. He's going to deliver it in, I guess the main place is in Boston. So I think it's Thursday. Today he's going to deliver all that stuff to...
Are the children from the high school, they're also chipping in?
I don't know about that, but I know that he put it out on email for the councilors and at the City of Revere to help out, and he had a lot of donations.
Yep, but they had a picture on Facebook with packages up to the wall practically. Yep. Fantastic. I'd like to talk to you, since you are a counselor of Ward 1, Suffolk Downs is in your ward, correct?
Yes.
Now, they're having racing. Is racing going to remain there, or is it going to be discontinued completely in a later date?
So I think they have a license until September 2018.
And after that?
And after that, they're going to. I believe they're going to get rid of it. Yes.
You mean there won't be any racing?
No, there won't be any racing. I don't think so. As far as I know, that they're going to get rid of the track, and they are going to get rid of the buildings around the track. They're going to keep the pond that's in the pond that's in the middle of the track, because that feeds off of the marsh. The marsh comes into the pond, and it makes it you know, a body of water.
The bonds and everything are going to go?
Everything's going to go, yes.
And what's going to be the future there then? If I may?
Well, I think I've met with Tom O'Brien and Dino DeFonso, who are the developers for that, who bought the site, and they're looking for a mixed-use property as like Somerville, where they have shops and retail and restaurants and condos and maybe apartments, but it's going to be a mixed use. It's going to be like Assembly Row.
Oh, like a little shopping mall in
Yeah,
there?
well, it's not going to be little. It's I think it's 161 acres. So it's going to be, and it's going to go in 3 phases. So it's going to be a 20-year development.
Have you gotten any developers to talk to yet?
Oh yes, I've talked to them 4 times
And
already.
And after this finishes up in 2018?
Yep, they're going to start developing it. Yep.
So
What they're going to do it in 3 phases. They're going to do phase 1, phase 2, and a phase 3. I guess it's going to take them at least 15 to 20 years to finish the whole thing off.
wow. And
Yeah.
can I ask you, like what's going to be built on phase 1 and what's going to be phase
I don't know that.
You haven't seen the
right
plans
now.
yet?
No, I don't think there is any plans
Oh,
yet. But what they're going to do is they want to try to bring in some industrial businesses in. They want to try to get some, you know, it's going to be mixed use. So, and I think that's what the people wanted. The people didn't want like low-income housing. They wanted something with mixed use where they could go to a restaurant or, you know, shopping, or everything is right there. And so, and that's what I was hearing on the streets from my constituents, that's what they wanted.
You know, it's funny because before I went on the air, I spoke to some people, Councillor, and they mentioned something that what they'd like to see come eventually is a return of Kentucky Fried Chicken that was burned out. No, I'm serious because they love chicken, the seniors. So.
Okay, all right. That's funny.
No, that's. And I understand Staples is leaving Revere, or they've left already.
Yeah, I think because of, Staples in Revere was very. There was a lot of theft in the store, more so than anywhere else. So
don't they have cameras?
They closed it. No, they closed it. I think they had cameras, but there was still a lot of theft.
Oh, it's closed now?
Yeah, it's closed, and Planet Fitness is going in there.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so we have a commercial going, you know, a commercial leaving and a commercial going in.
Are there any more, besides Suffolk Downs, are there any more commercial things going into the City of Revere that you might know of?
Well, we have a hotel that's, I think it's 8 or 9 floors that's going where the Shipwreck Lounge is. And it's a beautiful hotel. It's a Chinese developer. And we've seen the plans and we approved it as a council. So, and it's all glass and it's going to be all lit up. It's beautiful. It really is. The rendition that I saw was beautiful.
That's fantastic, Councillor. Another thing, you've been here, you grew up and you were born in the city, right?
Yes.
You went to school.
Yes.
When you were a little girl, about 20 years ago.
Yes.
Oh, well, am I a little off?
A little bit, but you know, I'll take it. Okay. I'll definitely take that.
What was it like then as compared to now, and what do you expect in the future from the city?
Well, I think when I was a kid, growing up in Beachmont, there was a lot of there was unity. Everybody knew their neighbors. Everybody got along together. You know, everybody depended on each other, and if you needed anything, people would be there. I feel that now there's a lot of division in the city, and I don't know, I think it started a couple of years ago, but I think there's a lot of division in the city, and I don't see that unity as I saw it when I was a kid here right now. I would love to see the city come together because it's a wonderful city, and we've all of us have had each other's back, you know. So I would really like to see the division stop and everybody come together, unified. And what I see in 20 years, I mean, I see I think I would like to see like something like Charlestown, beautiful developments, no poverty, no, because Revere is a poor city, and I would like to see it, rise up, middle class, beautiful development, and I would like it to be featured as the place to come in Massachusetts for people that are traveling.
Right. I come from a big city, New York, but I love Revere, and I tell you, I wouldn't leave Revere at all, regardless. If you gave me the whole Manhattan borough,
Right.
I wouldn't leave Revere.
Yeah, it's a special place.
It
It
is.
really is a special place.
It's small, compact, and I tell you, the people were very friendly when I moved in. They're very friendly now, and they've changed over the years. It used to be Italians and Hebrews and Spanish and Koreans.
Right. It's very diverse now.
Right, now we have a lot of a Moroccan, great Moroccan community here.
Yes, definitely.
Right. So, I'd like to talk to you about something that has, I don't know if it has anything to do, but I go to the senior center, and a lot of people, all of us are going to be seniors. Maybe someday you'll be a senior yourself. No. Okay.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
I hope so. But it needs a little work done, and it's great because a lot of the communities like Somerville and Everett, they have
Right.
their seniors and
Right.
Winthrop. All it needs is a little work done. Railing to be fixed so people can go up without having the railing shake back and forth. And I mentioned it to councilors that were here previous. I don't know whether they brought it up or not. But if you have the next meeting, if it wasn't brought up, could you do it for us? Just mention it.
Sure, I could put a motion in to have, the mayor look at putting a new railing
Right.
there.
It needs work in the back on the parking lot.
I did put a motion in about 6 months ago to put handicap parking for the first 14 spots that are when you come into the parking.
Oh, you mean across the street?
Yes, and,
Right,
and what happened, I don't know why that hasn't happened yet, but I can revisit that and see why it hasn't happened. But yes, that when you come into the parking lot, all those parking spaces along the fence, I put them in it for handicap parking so the seniors could have access to close parking.
So who's going to okay that? The traffic, the mayor, or the police? Who?
I think it's the traffic commission, and I think it did get approved. I just don't know why the signs haven't been up yet. I mean, I don't think we have a sign department. I'm really not sure, but I know we're backlogged with signs in the city. I know.
Now, what's the sign going to read, if I may ask you? Strictly parking for the senior center?
It would be handicap parking.
Oh, so anybody, even if they don't go to the senior
Right.
center,
It would be handicap
it
parking.
would just be handicap parking then?
Right. But
Right.
a lot of the seniors have plaques, for their cars, so they could park there.
Right.
Because I think there's only one handicap parking outside of the senior center.
I think there's one or two, maybe
Yeah.
two.
So there's not too many. So
No.
that would help because all they have to do is cross the street.
That would be good. Yep. So,
I will put a motion in for a new railing for you.
not for me, for the people at the senior
definitely
center.
for the senior center.
Yeah, because our director works very hard.
I
Steve
know he
Fielding.
does. He's a great
And
guy.
I'm sure he's put it in 100 times. And, sometimes it takes an old man like myself to ask to be put into. Okay, the next thing I'd like to we talked about the front railing, the back parking. Tell us a little about you. Now I'm going to be more specific. Growing up, about your parents, what it was like going to school when you were a kid. Now, go ahead.
So my father was in he was in the Army. I think it was the 5th Regiment in the Army, and he was a sergeant.
Which one? Korea, World War II?
It was World War II, yeah. And he was in Normandy. He was in Africa, and they went to Italy, and the war was over, and they went to liberate Italy, and he met my mother. My mother was from Florence.
Oh.
And my mother was walking across a bridge. My father was walking on the other side. And everything is history from then. But my mother was an Olympic swimmer for Italy. And
Oh.
yeah, and she won a silver medal. And when my father brought her to Revere, she was a long-distance swimmer, so she used to swim 4 or 5 miles a day. And when my father brought her to Revere Beach the first time, she said, "I'm going to go out for a swim." She couldn't speak English, but she went out for a swim, and she was swimming across Revere Beach to Nahant. And my father he got so upset, he called the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard came, and they followed her, and they were saying, "Get in the boat." And she's like, "Thank you very much," because that's all she knew to say. But she did swim to Nahant.
You know, you just reminded me of something. You said your mother was an Olympic swimmer.
Yes.
Your father met her in Italy during the war, or right after the war.
Yes.
That means she was in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, Germany.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes, but you know, it's so sad because she was homeless for 3 years during the war.
Oh.
Her mother was in a hospital. Her mother stepped on a landmine going to across a farm to get some food, and stepped on a landmine and lived. And my grandfather was taken by the Germans because he was out after curfew and put in a Polish concentration camp. So they didn't have.
Did he survive, I hope?
Yes, he did survive. He lived until he was 90. And my mother and her sister. My uncle was a partisan. Her brother, my mother's brother, and my aunt and my mother lost the home, and they were homeless. So they lived in train stations. They lived in, they lived wherever they could. It was very, very sad. So everything that she had, all her belongings and everything was lost during the war. So she came here with nothing. She came here, with my brother, and they moved into Beachmont.
I have to tell you, after the war was over, a friend of mine and I, we traveled around through Austria into the northern part of Italy. And we went, I think the biggest city we stepped there was Florence, which is way up north.
Yes.
That's as far as we got.
Yeah.
Italy's a very, very beautiful country.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I've been there many, many times. She used to drag me there when I was a kid. I'd go screaming and crying, and I didn't appreciate her going there until I was older, like when I was 20, because I was afraid I was missing out on something with my friends. But when I left for Italy for 3 months, I'd come back, and my friends were sitting in the same spot when I left them. So they never did anything. So.
You sure your name is not Joanne McKenna? Because McKenna is either Irish or Scotch.
It's Scottish, yeah.
Yep.
It's more Scottish than Irish.
Yeah, they usually say with an MAC it's Scottish.
Yeah.
And with the MC it's Irish.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think
Yeah.
I have a little Irish and Scottish in me. I think there's a little English in me too. So.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of English in you. Because my English ain't no good, Joanne.
No, mine's not that great either. So.
Besides your father and mother, did you have any relatives that were in, let's say, during the conflicts in any of our wars?
My 2 nephews. My nephew Bobby, who was in the Marines for 9 years, and my nephew Jimmy was in the Navy on the Enterprise for 6 years, and my brother was, I think my brother was a reserve. He was in the reserves. So yeah, my whole family has been actively dedicated to
I got to
fighting.
tell you,
Well,
I think you'll agree with me, the most important thing for any child is an education. And
Sure.
and a good education.
Sure.
And Revere is a terrific school for the school system.
definitely.
A good education. I'd like to just mention one thing to you. When I was in Brockton, and I know I shouldn't be talking about myself, but I always mention this. We had a gentleman there who was a judge. He was Judge Layton. You could look him up on the computer here. I got a question for you after that from the computer. But anyway, Judge Layton celebrated his 105th birthday.
Wow.
Never went to public school, never went to high school. Applied for Harvard University, correct? No, this is true.
Oh, true story.
Yep.
I thought it was one of your jokes.
No, people think it is. No, it's a joke when I get through, though, but it's a true joke.
Okay.
He applied to go to Harvard, but Harvard told him, you can't go. You never went to high school, you never went to public school.
Right.
But he kept pestering him. And one of the teachers there says, let him take the exam. He'll flunk it, and that'll be the end of him because he kept bothering them. The problem was he came in first in the exam when he took it.
Wow.
Graduated with the highest of honors from Harvard, became a judge of the Illinois Supreme Court in charge without an high school diploma. And you know what he said to me when I met him? He says, my biggest mistake was that I never went to public school or high school. He says, if I could do it now at 105, I would do it. But I told him he doesn't have to go at 105 years old. And that is a true story. It's on the computer, and it's spelled Leigghton, Judge Layton. So an education is a terrific
It really is. I mean, it's very difficult to get anywhere without an education right now. So it's and the the standards are very high.
Very
So
high. Let me tell you what they
very
were.
high.
Excuse me, Joanne. When I was a young kid, you know what the standards were? A high school diploma was the
Right.
highest. If you had a high school diploma, you can get almost any job. Later on, it became to a Bachelor of Science.
Right.
Now, my daughter, who went to nursing school, a Master of Science is the most important thing for that profession.
Well, that's not even, when I was a teacher, a master's was a very important thing to have, but now it's a PhD. Now it's gotten even higher than that.
Just to be a teacher?
Yeah, just to be a teacher. It's a PhD. And it's not only that, but you get the incentives of the higher the degree, the more money you get as a teacher. So people strive for that because teachers, teachers are very underpaid. So to get to a good spot with salary, the higher the education, the more money you get.
Now I have a question for you. Usually you graduate high school, let's say 17 or 18.
Right.
But let's say 18. How many years do you have to go to college to get a PhD, if I may ask you?
Well,
I know you need 4 for a BS.
So you have to go 9 years. So I think it's 9 years. So you have to go for your bachelor's, which is 4 years.
Right.
And then after that, I think it's 5 years to get your PhD.
Wow.
Now,
So-
I could be wrong,
No,
but
let's say, just for argument's sake, it's even 9. So you're 18 when you graduate. So by the time you're ready to go into your profession, you're 27 years old.
well, that's, I mean, the kids, now the younger teachers are going right into that. They're going to get their PhD. I mean, I wish I did it, but that wasn't the standards back then. It was just a master's. And then as I was leaving, the standards got higher and everybody was going for their PhD. So
I have to tell you, no offense, man, I think the teachers are one of the most underpaid professions.
definitely, I agree. And we, as a teacher, I put a lot of my own money into buying supplies and helping kids, and they still do. Everybody does that.
Here's a question I like to ask you. When I was going to school, that's me, the teacher walked around with a ruler in her hand. It was a film.
Yeah.
If you spoke during class, boom, you
Yeah.
got hit, either
Yeah.
behind or in the hand. Can't do that today.
No, you can't do anything. You can't say anything either. It's a very difficult job now. It really is. And I noticed the change. I mean, I was there for 32 years, and I noticed the change. So it's very difficult to be a teacher now.
So most of the
But
kids,
it's a very rewarding
Profession?
and I loved it, and I was very blessed to be there for 32
right,
years.
but your job is not over when you leave school at 3 or 4 o'clock.
No.
You got to take your homework home.
Definitely. And you take the problems of the kids home, too. You know what I'm saying? If a kid's struggling and for family or whatever's going on, if he's getting abused or whatever, I had a lot of that. I would take it home with me, and it would really be a part of me. So.
Well, how would you know if a child was getting I mean, you don't mean hit.
Yes, I do mean hit.
Oh.
Hit, it would be either physically or sexually or whatever it was. But they would come to me. A lot of kids came to me, especially in the beginning of my career, because I was one of the only females, and there was all male guidance counselors back then. So they would come to me and tell me their problems.
Talking about guidance counselor, I remember one, maybe you could expand on it. And people loved him. His name, I know it sounds funny, but it was Mr. Samuels.
Yes.
Right.
I remember Sam.
Yeah.
I think I worked with him in the beginning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he was a good guy, yeah.
And what is the guidance counselor's job really at the school? Just to put the kids on their right path?
Yes, I have my guidance counselor degree. It's just to make sure their classes are right, if they're right on top of their, accreditation, the credits you know, if they're going to graduate, they're not. It's, you know, it's more monitoring the kids and of the 4 years of high school. But it is, you know, and the guidance counselors get a lot of problems too. The kids go to the guidance counselors and tell them.
Oh, they do?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
That's pretty good.
They're more, they're more impacted now than they were back then.
What are some of the subjects that they teach and that they taught in your school that's changed over when I was a young man?
Well, I mean, just for me, I used to teach darkroom photography.
Right.
And then that stopped, and then we went to Photoshop with computers.
Do they still teach courses like I took, like civics when I was a young kid?
No, no more civics.
That's out?
And I think that's a shame, because I think the kids are really not getting what they don't know anything about the history of, you know, the past. So I think that's crucial. I don't know if they're bringing it back or not, but a lot of they're teaching towards the MCAST.
See, I was lucky. When I was going to school, there was only 4 U.S. presidents. Today there's 45, so it's hard to remember them all.
Right, right.
That's pretty good. Joanne, we got 2.5 minutes left. What would you like to talk about? It's all yours now.
Well, I would like to talk about my Ward 1 counseling position. It's been a very good experience. I've learned a lot. You know, at first it was a struggle, but I'm really liking it now, because I'm really learning how to negotiate. And, you know, I've been given 100%. I'm always on call. And if anybody calls me, I'll either meet them or I'll make sure that I, you know, follow up on the calls, and I'm really trying to get whatever they need done. So I can't promise it's going to be done, but I have been very successful.
Joanne, I'd like to ask you this question, if I may.
Sure.
Since you're the Ward 1 counselor, you know where you come out of Stop and Shop?
Yes.
Along that highway?
Yes.
The road, I don't know what the name of the road is. That road that goes into Stop and Shop.
It's Furlong Drive.
Furlong Drive, as you come out to the highway, a lot of the times people don't stop at the red light. That's how I got hit.
I know.
They just zoom right through. But there's no cameras there to verify anything. Could the city or the state?
Sure, I could put that down and make sure that happens, Morris. That's a good point. A good point. I just put a motion in for the beach, Revere Beach, to have cameras because of the incident that happened.
I think it would be the best thing, because that way you would see who is going. Because a lot of them, I know. Well, I got hit. I didn't even know I got hit. That's
right.
How hard. My car was totaled. This car was totaled. He went through a red light, but I heard. After me, a lot of people have gone through the red light.
Yes, it is an accident-prone spot, so that's a good idea. I don't know what's going to happen with the Shaw site and the...
You're going to have a lot of traffic there, too.
Yeah, the Shaw site, what they're going to do with that, but they're supposed to rearrange the whole thing so it's pedestrian-friendly.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
Right, Joanne. I want to say it was an honor and a pleasure having you up here.
Thank you very much,
No,
Morris.
thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You do a fantastic job,
Thank
and good
you.
luck to you.
I really try. Thank you.
God bless you, Joanne.
Thank you very much, Morris.
God bless the people of Revere, and thank you all for tuning in and listening to us. God bless our military. God bless our great country, the United States of America. And thank you all for listening. Till the next time. Thank you.